Hey everybody, this is Perch. Let's reach into the mailbag here, just right off the gate. Dear Perch, I have two questions for you. The first is about Rob Liefeld. I don't know if you still I don't know if you still read Twitter regularly, but Rob Liefeld has recently turned extremely anti-Marvel Studios. He is openly cheering for the collapse of the Fantastic Four and is praising Superman. What do you make of this, given that Rob Liefeld's career was started and launched by Marvel? My second question, I'm just going to read the whole mail here. My second question is Wonder Woman bisexual? There's a big argument also on Twitter right now whether she is or she isn't. You've read a lot of Wonder Woman's comics. What do you say? Thanks again for your show. Always appreciate it. Love it for my drive home in the afternoon. All right. I'm like an afternoon talk show. These are two great questions that go well together, by the way. What's up with Rob Liefeld, and is Wonder Woman bi? I don't know why. There's something very funny about that to me. You were just going to put both those together. All right. Well, I think there's actually pretty simple answers to both. So the first answer, does Rob Liefeld have it in for Marvel? I mean, he has and hasn't at different times. When he kind of recently, when I say recently, I mean in the last 5-6 years, he came back into a couple series with Marvel. Before that time, he was pretty critical of Marvel. I mean, just pretty openly critical about it. And then he did work for Marvel, and he was less openly critical about it. And now he's not doing work for Marvel, and he's critical about it. So I mean, I don't know. Feels like when he's doing work and getting paid by them, he's less critical. That's how it feels. I don't know. Don't know if it's really that much more complicated than that, but there you have it. He did seem to get really into the idea of the Fantastic Four failing, and I don't know if there's some kind of personal beef with Kevin Feige. I've heard some people speculate that he's upset that he didn't get the kind of promotion he was expecting out of Deadpool Wolverine, or they didn't thank him in the right way. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know what. I know there's a joke in Deadpool Wolverine about Liefeld not being able to draw feet, but I don't know if there's more to it than that, or what. But he does seem to be. He has joined really aggressively into that. Fantastic Four is terrible and it's losing all the monies and it's bankrupt forever and blah 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 blah. I don't know. Again, I've got some friends at Disney. They seem happy with Fantastic Four. Like everyone, would they have been happier if it would have made $3 billion? I mean, sure, you would have been ecstatic, but there's something definitely off about the internet and the floppy flop, fantastic flop, it's a flop kind of stuff, and what the studio itself was projecting and hoping for. And I don't know. There's a major disconnect there between the two. But yeah, it is me. I mean, is there a personal beef? The only thing I have to go off of is that in the past, Rob was pretty aggressively critical of Marvel, like aggressive critical of Marvel, and he seems less so. He was less so for a while, and now he's back to being very critical of them. So I don't know. Anyway, I guess critical of Marvel Studios. I don't know if he's critical of Marvel in general, but definitely the Feige and the movie crowd. So there you have it. Yeah, whatever. Is Wonder Woman bi? I don't know how am I gonna. I'm gonna label this video. I think just with the whole question. Why is Rob Liefeld angry at Marvel, and is Wonder Woman bi? That'll be like the thumbnail. We'll just throw it all in there. Is Wonder Woman bi? Well, so I'm gonna say it depends. I think that if you look at it logically, being from a island of Amazons and all the rest, is it weird, the idea that she could be bi or that she would like women? Is that completely bizarre and out of the question? I mean, I don't know. It feels like that they've kind of set some things up for that, and it's not surprising. Now, the majority of her comics, if you look at the kind of the whole career, in general, they have portrayed Wonder Woman as being heterosexual or straight. Both with the Steve Trevor thing, there was a romance with Superman during the New 52. There's been kind of little off and on romances that have gone on, but generally Wonder Woman has been written as straight or kind of more appropriately, uh, not really super, into relationships, meaning relationships haven't been a huge thrust, no pun intended, of Wonder Woman's comics. Generally, it's been lots of other things, but the who's Wonder Woman dating hasn't been a major part of the comic. And when it was, and when they would kind of go down that path, readers didn't respond terribly well. It wasn't something that a lot of people were that interested in learning about who Wonder Woman was dating. It just, I think the core of that title is, warrior from Amazon, fighting for truth and justice in man's world, or in the Western world and in other parts, and dealing around with her fucking dick siblings and other shenanigans from Olympus. That was kind of a lot of what Wonder Woman has been. Um, so I think from a character development standpoint, not the weirdest idea in the world. There have been some writers who have attempted kind of to say it's canon that she is bi or even gay, but it's not. It's that has not been outright stated. It's kind of people had slid into this a little bit. Um, the reality is this: editorial is unlikely. I mean, if it was going to happen, it would have happened a couple years ago. It's very unlikely now to really kind of lay down the law or say, yeah, Wonder Woman is definitely gay or definitely bisexual. It's unlikely editors would do that because it doesn't because it frankly isn't relevant to the comic. Now they'll hint at stuff. They have hinted at stuff. Writers like Kelly Sue DeConnick have said yes. Um, it's just it's not. They just they're not going down that path. The creative team can say, "Oh yeah, for sure," but keep in mind, and I think this is something that people who fans of comics should understand. If Tom King, for example, who's writing Wonder Woman, says, "I've always believed she's gay," okay, that's Tom King's opinion, but that's not the opinion of the company, and Tom King doesn't speak for the company. Even if he's the current writer for the title, if he's able to put things in that can kind of become canon in the book, like you have Wonder Woman dating a woman, or you have Wonder Woman saying, like I am gay, or like pull a North Star. For those of you who are old, that was the big splash page that Marvel went with in the Age of Subtlety. Was North Star going, I am gay, and it was said as he was like charging with exclamation marks. Is a declaration. If Tom King were to do that in the comic, then it becomes canon, and that it be but editorial signed off on at that point and other things, or editorial's asleep and Tom King puts it in and nobody checks. Either one of those two. But the writer just going, yeah, Wonder Woman's gay, but we can't tell that story. Okay, again, that's kind of your opinion, and by saying you can't tell that story, it's kind of an indicator that editorial's saying no, they don't want to. Maybe they're saying no, she's not. Maybe they're saying no, we don't want to commit to this at this time. Who knows? For what it's worth, and this is probably a video in and of itself. I think you have to understand, or you have to think about what is the core of what a book's meant to be. And I'll use Ranma as an example. Ranma by Rumiko Takahashi is, for all intents and purposes, a romantic comedy kind of a book. It has some action. There's martial arts, the Tendo school of all anything goes martial arts. You have fight sequences. You have silly over the top boss scenes and all that kind of stuff that go on in Ranma. But its core, Ranma is a kind of a will she, won't she, romance story between hapless, unlucky Ranma and the woman he's clearly destined to wind up with in the end, Akane. And it is a rom-com. That is what it is. If you decided to if you're a writer and you say, I don't like the romance element, I'm going to do, I'm going to do a whole arc where it's just straight up martial arts. You could do that, but if Rumiko Takahashi lets you do that, you could do it. But why would you do it? The comic, the manga is a rom-com. That is what it was built to do. Wonder Woman or frankly, any superhero comic, you can certainly have characters be gay, you can have them be bisexual, you can have them be anything, but the core of the comic is not going to be that. No matter what happens, um, the core of Wonder Woman is not a exploration of Wonder Woman's bisexuality. Even if they make it canon, even if that's what she is, it's still not what the comic is meant to be. Any more than Superman is meant to be a comic for foodies, or the Avengers is meant to be a Western. They could have the Avengers go do Western adventures, but at the end of the day, it is a superhero team book. Wonder Woman is a superhero book. That's what it is. Again, doesn't mean they can't explore a lot of these themes. They can and they will. But at its core, that's not what it's meant to be. And if you try and take out the core, you're left with kind of a mess of a book. If you went with Ranma and you took out the rom-com element, you've kind of, ripped out what Ranma is. If you take Wonder Woman and you try and rip out the superhero aspect of it, the comic, you're no longer, you've ripped out the core of that comic. So, is Wonder Woman bi? Again, I mean, it probably logical, warrior woman from Amazon. Yeah, I mean, it's more logical to say she could be bi than, than other characters. I mean, I would argue that with all the history of Tim Drake and, Stephanie Brown, kind of all the stuff that he went into, Tim Drake being gay or being bi is a weirder jump for the character than Wonder Woman, if you were to say Wonder Woman was bi. But, if you're DC editorial and you decide to go with Wonder Woman as bi as your main headline for that character, you're giving up or you're moving past the Wonder Woman as a superhero. So I mean that's the dynamic to think about. Anyway, I don't know if this answer is satisfying for anyone, but that's my answer. So is she bi? I mean, maybe, but they haven't definitively stated in the comic. There have been plenty of little hints, and definitely creative team members have done it. There's been stuff in Elseworlds. You've had, what if type stories, the Elseworld type stories where she's definitely been gay, not bisexual, but full on lesbian. But in the comics, in the mainline continuity, they've not really committed. And, again, somebody, by the way, in the comments be like, what Perch and Wonder Woman 814, she says that, she enjoys the company of any human. So that clearly means she's okay. I mean, maybe it does. It's whether she is or she isn't, it's not the core of the story. I guess that's the point. Anywho, there you go. 2 topics destined to be together. Rob Liefeld and by Wonder Woman. Sure. Thanks for listening.